Epistemology is the branch of philosophy that's concerned with theories of knowledge. We talked about epistemology before in this class, near the end of Unit 1, when we introduced the justified true belief theory of knowledge. That laid out a set of criteria for knowledge. And we talked about the theory, and we talked about some counterexamples or some problems for this theory, known as Gettier cases. Today we're going to talk about one of the subfields of epistemology. There are a bunch of different subfields in this branch of philosophy. For example, philosophy of science is a subfield of epistemology. In philosophy of science, we ask questions like, what is science, and how do we distinguish it completely from other human endeavors? We also ask questions like, what is a good scientific explanation? So if you have two explanations for a single phenomenon, one of them is really detailed and really accurate, but it's really difficult to understand. And another explanation is really easy to understand, but it glosses over a lot of the details. Which one of those explanations is better? The one that's really detailed and accurate, or the one that's easy to understand? Those are questions in philosophy of science. Another subfield, and the one that we're going to talk about today, is philosophy of mind. So philosophy of mind, there's a lot of questions in epistemology. There's also a lot of questions, a lot of metaphysical questions in philosophy of mind. So some of the things that we want to know in philosophy of mind are, what is a mind? Is the mind the same as the brain, or is the mind separate from the brain? And what is the relationship between the mind and the brain? How would they interact? We also have questions like, what would a mind look like in something that isn't human? So can other animals have minds? Which ones? Can plants have minds? Can machines have minds? How would we know, and how can we recognize minds in other entities? And that's an important question for the search for extraterrestrial life. You know, how do we recognize intelligence or mindedness in something that's really different from us? Okay, so we're going to talk about one of these questions today, just a little bit, and that's the question of whether or not machines can have minds. What we're actually really going to talk about is the epistemological part of this question, which would be, how can we know if a machine has a mind? So there was a computer scientist and a philosopher named Alan Turing who published this paper called Computing Machinery and Intelligence in 1950, and he proposed something called the imitation game as a way to answer this question, how can we know if a machine has a mind? His proposal was that if a machine can imitate a human being so well that a human being actually can't tell the difference between that machine and another human, then that machine can be said to think. Okay, so that's the imitation game. It's more famously known now as the Turing test. And the Turing test is one of, if not the most influential topic in the philosophy of artificial intelligence. So what we're going to do is watch a clip from a movie called Ex Machina. It came out in 2014, so some of you guys might have seen it, or at least be familiar with it. And in this clip, two of the characters are talking about the Turing test.